Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Whether you're watching this live tonight or if you're watching it live and on a recording later on, I'm really glad that you decided to be our audience. And if you're listening to the audio, we're really happy to have you tune in that way also.
Absolutely.
My goodness, we have so many people saying hello. Chris Chrisman came in early and said, hi, Rob and Joan online, standing by.
You can relax. That. You can relax now.
Yeah. Dave Murray said, good evening, Rob and Joan and Pamela. Joe Conjal said, good evening, Rob and Joan.
Hello, Joe.
George DeSmuke says, okay, I'm buckling my seatbelt and ready to go.
Hi, George.
Yeah, it might be a bumpy ride at a certain point.
Could be. You never know.
Paul Hollis says, good evening, Rob and Joan.
Hey, Paul.
And Chris Chrisman said, hello, Rob and Joan again.
Yes. Hello again.
And Marjorie Deering said, hello, happy Wednesday, everybody. Hi, Marjorie, glad that you could make it. And Chris Chrisman says, live on Memorex.
Yeah. There, boy, that's a flashback, huh?
It is a flashback.
So, how are you doing?
Good.
Okay. Got some news. Okay. Reminders, as always, episode rewind this Saturday will be Stephen Panis, his episode of Walk On. That's December 21st, and it's 5:30 p.m. Eastern time here in the U.S., and it's right here where you're watching right now. Also, a week from Saturday is December 28th, and that'll be Jessica Hartfield and her episode. In the meantime, next Wednesday is Christmas Day. We're not going to be here. And the following Wednesday is New Year's Day. No show on New Year's Day either. So nothing to talk about there. Wanted to give you some statistics. Want to hear some statistics?
Yeah.
Sure. According to Spreaker, our audio downloads have just almost closed in on 113,000. It's 112,885 audio downloads. And we actually have drifted down to only 40% for the U.S. market. It's 60% international now. France is number 2. Bangladesh is number 3. India is number 4. Believe it or not, North Macedonia sounds like a town in Indiana.
Welcome, North Macedonia.
Hello, North Macedonia. Thank you for listening. Australia is number 6. Spain is number 7, Japan 8, and the Philippines are number 9.
Oh, so, well, welcome to all of you who are listening all around the world and watching all around the world.
Now, those are ranked all that have downloaded over 100 episodes in the last 30 days, all those countries.
And Chris Chrisman said, that is awesome. It is awesome. We've been really blessed with amazing audience and amazing authors and a really good time.
Indeed.
And stay tuned to the end of the show because we have a major announcement to
make.
Hang
in here. We do have a big announcement to make. In the meantime, a couple of smaller but very important announcements. Mm-hmm. In Magnolia Bluff world, the pre-order for Jinx Schwartz's The Blue Bonnet Conspiracy is available. That's book 31. So you hop into Amazon and check that out for Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles. That releases on the 20th of December. And right now there is a big sale going on for the other 30 books in the series. Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles book series holiday sale is in effect until December 21st. What that means is most of the books are 99 cents. One is free, and that's Joe Conjul's Second Chances. You can read that one for free. Just go in there and download it.
He took one for the team.
He took one for the team, and we're glad he did. Thank you, Joe. And all the other books are 99 cents. So that's 30 of them. If you think about it for a second, you can give somebody the entire thing for $30.
Yeah.
The entire Crime Chronicles book series and gift it to them. That's a pretty good gift, I would say. Or you can just load up your own Kindle. Anyway, that's going to be until the 21st. So hop over there.
Joe Conjul said, "Wow, popular all over the world."
Indeed.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's pretty humbling. Marjorie said, "You two are a wide-ranging influence." And Joe said, "Download Second Chances.
Definitely.
It's free.
It's a really good book. I've read it. I think it's fabulous.
We've reviewed it.
Really good. There's
5
a review.
stars.
Yep. And Joy.
Joy Shelton York is here. Hi, all. Hi, Joy.
All right.
Yes.
Well, that brings us to almost
and like we
time.
said, please stay tuned to the very end of the show because we have a big announcement to make.
Right. Now.
Oh, wait a minute. When is our next Haunted Campfire?
It's in January.
January 19th, am I right?
I think that's about right.
You didn't
it's a
write
third
that down.
Thursday. No, I didn't.
Okay, it's the last Thursday.
Watch our Facebook and LinkedIn, and you'll see it. You'll see it there. Okay, we would like to introduce our guest tonight, but what we're going to do is we're going to show her book trailer. And for all you that are watching live or on YouTube right now, you'll see the words on it. Everybody who's just listening to the audio, I'm sorry, you'll just get the music. So I'd encourage you to go over to the YouTube channels or on Facebook and check it out. But definitely the YouTube channels.
Because it's quite a stunning video.
There's
there's
music.
Miss it.
There's music, but no narration. So it's short. It's only a minute long. So. Okay, buckle up, everybody.
All right.
Okay, that's the Inside Out series by Pamela Nichols, and we're going to introduce Pamela now. Come on in.
Hi.
Hi, Pamela.
That's quite a stunning video.
Thank you. I had it made for me. I can't say that I did it myself, even though that was my goal. I was gonna try, but I just couldn't.
Well,
they did you right.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It really is. We've got a lot of comments. Let's see. Chris Chrisman said, "Welcome, Pamela."
Hi, Chris.
Then he said, "Wow, powerful. It is powerful." Joe Conjul said, "Very intriguing." Joy Shelton York said, "Powerful." And Paul Hollis said, "Powerful trailer." It is. It's for those of you that couldn't see it, there are some disturbing scenes, but it's real life.
Thought-provoking for sure.
Yes, it is. It's all things that
and
happen
encouraging too. So
real
at the same
life.
time, yeah.
Dave Murray said that was compelling stuff. Yeah, for real. Let me bring up your brand here. What?
You want to take him down? His comment.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Alrighty, let me go back.
I know you're new at this, but
Yeah.
oh my.
I was trying to get to the book cover
There you go.
first.
All right.
That's way down. Boy. I'll tell you what. We've had too many shows on here.
Go back up. There you go.
There we go. All right. I want to briefly show each one of the covers by themselves. We'll start with book 1 in this series. Mm-hmm. It's called Necessary Food, and this is part of the Inside Out, which if you were watching the trailer, you understand that it's talking about things that are inside of you that
the top of it says there are parts of our story no one else sees.
Yep.
Very true.
And then More Grace is the second one. And Always Never is the third. Hidden Mercy is the fourth. And the book we're going to speak about today is Secret Things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been a while since you've been with us. I think it was a year ago, right?
Yes, and as she was putting the covers up, I think I spoke about the third book. So 2 since I chatted with you guys, since I met you guys.
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself to get us started here? Because there's people that haven't seen you, haven't met you before.
Okay, sure. I'm Pamela Nichols. I am a podcast host. I'm an author. I'm an editor. I love all things books. The Inside Out series is, I call it Christian fiction that isn't church as usual. There are a number of people who have really severe trauma or some spiritual bad things have happened to them spiritually, and they don't have that white picket fence kind of relationship with God or that white picket fence spirituality, and sometimes they feel left out. I think by and large, the church tends to give off this notion that if you're really aligned with your creator, then, their life is going to be sparkling and pure and white. And that's just not so. We have some people really going through some things. And so that's why I wrote the book. The first book, I didn't intend it to be a series. I had a conversation with a friend that led to the first book, that led to the second. And so now here we are today.
Well, let me say, too, that that isn't even the Christian walk. It shouldn't be. The road to hell is wide paved,
Right. It's the messaging. Somewhere
is tough. Life is tough.
Exactly.
And it doesn't help to tell people, it's going to be all wonderful and perfect. Because it isn't. It's going to be tough. Life is tough. Mm-hmm. Bad things happen to good people. And good to bad people, which sometimes good people don't like that second part.
Doesn't seem fair, but, life isn't fair.
Paul Hollis says, love those covers. These are on my reading list. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Chris Crispin said, I wish those were available when I was a kid in church. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 2 things that really led me into writing that is because that was, I was a leader in church, actually. And I just was struggling so badly because the God that I perceived in the Bible was not the one that I thought was presenting in my life. And it really, I just turned in on myself. And that really is, that really leads to further spiritual destruction, so to speak. And like I said, I had a conversation with a friend, and then that opened the door for me to write that first book. And then I started getting answers while I was writing. And I find that I thought it was just me. Like I said, I have a podcast, and the person that I just interviewed last week, I asked her, do you write to find your answers, or have answers risen in you and then you put them on paper? And she said the same thing that I did. She has a thought, she has a question, and she works it out on the page.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's going to be different for everyone, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
I mean, because we're all unique, and our walk is unique, and our history is unique. And so then our perception of the world is unique to what all of our life experiences have made us up to this point.
Right.
So,
and I want to qualify that. I think it's different, but the same. The same in that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. The same in that. You know where I'm going with this. We have the victory. A lot of it is our mindset. Right.
Yes.
A lot of it is our mindset. So if we correct that, yeah, there we
go. But even if you go to see a lay psychiatrist, and go for therapy, right? You're going to be told you need to change the tape that's playing in your head. And that's the truth. You do need to change it, because there's an awful lot of negative self-talk that goes on up there in our little brains. And then we find a lot of judgment towards other people that also doesn't need to be up there.
Correct.
So
absolutely.
There's just a whole lot of stuff going on up there that needs to be flipped, turned. And by unique, I mean, so it's going to be different for each person, what they're dealing with and how they deal with it, and what brought them to whatever point they're in right now.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because we all have problems.
Gosh, yes.
No, life is just wonderful.
So this is the last book in the series, right?
It is.
Okay. Can you give us a little idea what it's about without giving the whole thing away? I know you're going to be reading some of it after our first break here.
Okay.
If you want to give us a little overview, that'd be great.
Okay, so the whole overview for the series is actually the thoughts that we think that are, and particularly the thoughts that we think about God. And then secondary, the thoughts that we think about ourselves. That is what is taking us on this path that we're on. So the first book is about a young lady with an eating disorder. I want to start from books 1 to 4 so you can understand.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And so that is the book that started with my conversation with a friend of mine. We were out having lunch and I noticed she was barely eating. And I initially thought, well, maybe she doesn't want to eat with me. Negative thinking. Maybe she doesn't want to eat here, where the place that I chose. More negative thinking. But I had the presence of mind to ask her, what's going on? You don't want to be here? What up? And then she says, no, it's not that. And she said to me, I'm recovering from an eating disorder. The very first, and I'm embarrassed to say it, the very first thought I had was, Black people don't have eating disorders. And that is where the idea for that book came from. That is a fallacy. That is something that is not true. And in book 1, I call it Necessary Food. There is a young lady who is Black who has an eating disorder. Because that is so veiled in secrecy, people who suffer from eating disorder, they're very secretive. But there happens to be a coworker of hers who is white, who has recovered by the grace of God from an eating disorder, and she recognizes the signs. She's trying to help her. The other young lady won't accept her help. She doesn't see it as help. She sees it as this white woman trying to take my job. And again, she literally says the inner comment that I had, Black people don't get eating disorders. And that is where that story is shifting. I just wanted to get that out of my heart onto the page. I had no idea I'd be writing another story. One of the side characters in that just blew up. So I took all of that part out, put it in another document, finished the book. I realized I had a whole nother story because this young lady had depression. And at the time, I was working on my heart, in my mind, how God feels about people who are in so much pain that they make the ultimate choice. They choose to end their life. And the year that I wrote that, it's still happening now, but the year that I wrote that, it seemed that we had back to back to back celebrities making that choice. It seemed like every time we turned around. I remember it was Kate Spade, and it was just several of them back to back. So I had that in my brain while I was writing that, and I was trying to work out how I felt. So book 2, More Grace, it deals with the Christian response to suicide, depression, and the decision that sometimes comes from that. So if you have 2 books, that's not in the series. So then I was forced to come up with a 3rd book. And that's about domestic violence and spiritual abuse. We have a man who grew up, this young man on the cover, he grew up as a child watching his pastor father beat his wife. That's what I read last time I was here with you guys. Mm-hmm. And he then grows up. He leaves the faith. His father dies. The church elders call him back to take over that church. When placed in the same predicament, same set of circumstances as his father, he behaves the same way his father does. He starts beating his wife. So we work through that. Book 4, because I'm a former journalist and I still am a news head, here in Virginia where I live, we had 2 instances of workplace violence that resulted in death. I think it was like within 6 or 7 months. And so in this story, this gentleman, they've been married, they're in their 50s, they've been married for a long time, had a solid marriage, leaders in their church. When his wife dies in workplace violence, he gets her phone back and discovers she had a whole nother life that he knew nothing about. So he had to work, the grief is enough, but then he had to work through the shame and the anger to even get to the grief. So in that, we're talking about neuroplasticity and the retraining of the way that you think. Mm-hmm. So I said all that to say, the tagline for all of this is the Inside Out series. Real change happens from the inside out. On book 5, I am I'm going back to the great-great-great-great-grandmother of the young lady that had the eating disorder. She appears in this book and something happens in her life and she makes a decision based on the fact that she really believes her life would be better if she looked different than she did now. That action and that thought and that behavior is what comes down through their ancestral line to this young girl who has the eating disorder. So I'm actually circling wagons. And I got the idea from that because in my personal life, there are some things going on and God revealed to me that this is not you. This didn't start with you. This is your great, 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 great something. And this is how your family has chosen to respond and behave. And this is why it's showing up in your life. But this is what you need to do to correct it. So it's another situation where I'm working out something in my life on the page. So that's what that's about. That is why I have that artwork, that cover, because we are unknowingly passing down things, both good and bad, to our children and future generations. So that's what that's about.
Chris Chrisman says that's an important message for all of us, for all. And Connie Clary says, hello, everyone.
Hi,
hello,
Connie.
Joe Conjal says, hi, Pamela. Are your stories based on people you've met over your life?
Only the first one. And she's not even that character. Just I took that first story from that true situation. None of the others. One thing is like you start walking and the door opens. So then you walk through it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. We need to take our first break. don't anybody go away. Everybody stay until the end of the show, please. We do have a special announcement then. And also, Pamela's got a lot of good stuff to talk about here, and she's going to read for us in a minute. So stay tuned. Don't go away.
This novel, set against the backdrop of the English Civil War, explores love and survival amidst the chaos of war. It combines historical events with personal narratives, highlighting the impact of conflict on individuals and families. England, 1642. When bloody civil war breaks out between the king and parliament, families and communities are driven by different allegiances. Red Winter Journey is a sweeping tale of adventure and loss, sacrifice and love, with a unique and unforgettable story of a mother's love for her son at its heart. A historic journey of twists, turns, and a dash of spirited passion.
I finished reading the book a couple of days ago. It was a great read. The plot was indeed compelling, and I loved the conclusion. What I particularly enjoy in Paul's novels is his vivid recounting of historical details as to the social and cultural sides at the time. His characters are very likable and relatable.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. Two new enemies await him in the small coal mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Now comes part 4 in the Jaguar series by retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. In this saga, Brandon, Andrea, and Naja, the Black Jaguar, go deep into the Mato Grosso jungle on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children. During their journey, they encounter many dangers, including Yanomami Indians, bent on revenge for the murder of one of their warriors.
Return of the Jaguar is book 4 in the Jaguar series, starting with 2 faces of the Jaguar, the Lost City, and the Jaguar's Quest. All 4 are available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other bookseller websites worldwide. Return of the Jaguar is a must-read.
And we're back.
We are.
Dave Murray has a good question. He said, how often are we doomed to behave like our parents? How often can we learn from their mistakes and do better, do you think?
I think we can learn. The trick to that is to recognize the behavior as faulty and not something that you want to pattern yourself after. And a lot of times we don't do that. What becomes normal, like the character in the 3rd book, he actually left his parents for a while. He left the church because he did not want to be that way. You know, he did think it was normal. He went away, came back, and fell right back into it. I was talking to someone the other day, and she said, as she was growing up, she noticed certain behaviors in her mother and aunts, the women in her family. And when she saw them doing certain things, she would always hear a voice say, that's not correct. So some of us don't have that. We just accept it as rote. This is how it is. This is how it's going to be. And then later on, we discover this is not correct. And then we take corrective action. I'm not sure if I answered that, but yes, you can overcome it once. It's a 2-step. You have to, because you're not going to want to change it if you think it's normal, if you think it's customary. Right. And if you don't believe it, you can't change it.
Right. You can't fix a problem if you don't know there's a problem.
Exactly. So once you know there's a problem, then you have to then move forward into the change.
So Chris Chrisman said, I made a deliberate choice to not to act like my father as a young child, 10 years old. But what you were saying about the woman that heard the voice that said that's not correct, when I was growing up, things would happen, and I would hear a voice say, how does that make you feel when that happens to you? Things that my parents did. And I would say how it made me feel. And then I was told, and how would you prefer your parents to treat you? And I would talk to that voice and say, this is what I do. And then he said, remember this when you're a mom and you have children. And that was about the same age, Chris, when I was about 10 years old. So the Holy Spirit was there speaking to me, saying, how does this feel? How would you rather have it? And I can still remember that voice. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Joe Conjal said, do you outline your books ahead of time, or are you a pantser?
I'm going to say I'm a modified pantser. I will start with the message that I want to get out. And if I plot, it is a chapter at a time. I can't do anything more structured than that, because that just, so I will sit down and I know what I want to accomplish in chapter 1, possibly chapter 2. But then I get through that and then do the next chapters. Now, where I will say that I plot out are my character studies. I know who they are, because if I have 2 main characters and some sub characters, I know their favorite colors, what they look like. I may know, someone on television that they remind me of. That helps me with my dialogue. That helps me move them through the story. I'm very strident on that, but I'm gonna be a proud pantser for the rest of it.
There you go.
So Joyce Shelton York said something very astute, I think, and very true. She said, it can be scary to take a different path, because what you know is what you know, right?
It is scary to take a different path because of that, but it's also scary to take a different path if those around you are not in agreement. If those around, because sometimes what happens is the people around you think that you are the problem. You're blowing this out of proportion. This is how we've always done it. You're so extra. A lot of times the people who are called to be the restorer of the breach in their family, they're doing it all alone.
Mm-hmm.
They're making this walk. If they haven't been outright ostracized, they are ridiculed. Sometimes they don't have anybody to go to but God. And it is scary. And you feel like you're losing your mind. So yes. And then you get to a certain point in your healing where you just don't even know where to go. You know too much to stay where you are and go backwards and stay in the mess. But then you're so exhausted and so tired and so fearful of the unknown that you're already trembling and you don't know how you're gonna go forward. Yeah. So I absolutely
New York said exactly. Now go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it is then that I ask for and I look for a very specific, I hate to say, sign from God. He's going to give it. He's going to give it.
On how to move forward?
Yes, on how to move forward.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember that my aunt came to visit us when we were living in California. My aunt and my uncle and his sister and brother-in-law. And we were talking about the family and everything. And I'd come through so much. I think this happens sometimes, that you assume that everybody else can see what you see, right? And so I said to my aunt something about, well, we did come, because she was talking about family stuff, which was so dysfunctional. And I said, well, we come from a dysfunctional family. And she turned, she looked at me and she said, no, we don't. And I said, oh, yeah, we do.
Oh.
But I do think that's what you were just talking about. Your family doesn't think it's dysfunction. They think that's the way life is. This is how you operate. This is how a family operates. And,
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think they also think sometimes that we are making fun of them or thinking light of them, and we're not. Your heart is heavy because you want them to come into the knowledge that you have so that they can also get free. And I'm just going to be honest, there has been some prior aught that I held against my mother. But the closer I get to my healing, the more I release her of that. I absolutely understand, not condone it, but absolutely understand why she did some of the things that she did.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you like to read now before our next break? Would that be good? Is it a good time for you? Oh, wait a minute. Dave Murray has.
Oh, it's good.
It's a failure to communicate both ways fully. That's true, but here, go up one. Dave Murray said, living in the eye of a hurricane in a dysfunctional family.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if you want to read now would be a good time, I think.
Sure. I have it on my computer right here. I'm going to read it straight from here.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Okay. The neon sign outside Sutton's table glowed faintly against the night sky. Nestled on the waterfront of elegant Old Town, the restaurant combined refinement and charm, a place where businessmen and artistic types gathered to form alliances and to let down their guards. Inside, a symphony of clinking glasses, muted laughter, and soft jazz filled the air, competing with the aroma of garlic, rosemary, and seared lamb. The restaurant's understated elegance perfectly mirrored its owner, Kara Sutton. While she worked the maitre d' station, Kara wore her signature tailored navy dress with a string of pearls. This evening, she stood over the stove, stirring a pot of lemon herb risotto, her auburn hair gathered at the nape of her neck. Mark, the head host, rushed in, his usually calm demeanor replaced by a look of urgency. He leaned toward her, lowering his voice theatrically. Gabriel Abdon is here and he wants to speak with you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Table 5. He nodded toward the dining room, then quickly returned to his duties at the front of the restaurant. The Gabriel Abdon, the well-known food critic in her establishment? His reputation was legendary. A glowing review from him could catapult a restaurant to heights of prestige, while a harsh critique was a certain death knell. She recalled a particularly brutal review he'd written about Saffron and Rose, calling their signature pot roast a misguided science experiment with the consistency of glue. The restaurant closed within 6 months. Handing her spoon to Daphne, the kitchen manager, Kara ducked down the hallway to freshen up. After splashing cool water onto her delicate, freckle-dusted face and smoothing her white uniform, she slicked an errant strand of hair back into her bun. She took a breath and peeked through the curtain at the left side of the dining area, where she had a full view of table 5. He was tall and thin with a commanding presence. The newspapers never printed his photo, but this was exactly how she imagined him. He exuded an air of precision and formality, like a man who could unearth every secret ingredient with a single bite. She squinted. Was it her imagination or was there a glow around him? Kara pinched her cheeks for color, steadied herself, and made her way to his table. As she approached, Gabriel Abdon rose, extending his hand with a polite smile. Ms. Sutton, thank you for joining me. May I just say, your restaurant is extraordinary. He motioned for her to join him, and the duo took their seats. "Thank you, Mr. Abden," she replied. "I'm glad you've enjoyed your evening." "Far more than that," he said, his eyes studying her. "The meal was exemplary. The duck confit extraordinary, the English custard superb. Every detail, from the menu to the ambiance, reflects a singular vision. I'm curious, where did you learn to study? CIA? Johnson & Wales? Europe, perhaps?" Kara hesitated, the practiced smile faltering for a fraction of a second. "I have no formal training," she answered, her voice steady. "I've always had a passion for food." Gabriel tilted his head slightly. "And where does that passion come from? Did someone inspire you? A mentor, perhaps?" Her throat tightened. Memories she had long suppressed began to surface, dancing at the edge of her mind. Avi's steady hands shaping the bread dough, her soft voice explaining the difference between thyme and sage. But they were scenes from another life, a life Kara had erased decades ago. "My mother taught me the basics," she said finally, her voice measured. "She could make magic with the simplest ingredients. She must be proud of what you've built." His tone was genuinely warm. Kara's smile faltered. "She passed away a long time ago." "I'm sorry to hear that." Gabriel's eyes lingered on her, as though expecting something unsaid. "Clearly you carry her legacy." Kara nodded but didn't respond. The words lodged in her throat. Her mother's legacy was something she tried for years to suppress. She left everything behind, her name, her heritage, her identity, to create this life. And she'd done well. But lately, cracks had begun to form in the carefully constructed facade. It began as a simmer. The nightmares that had long gone dormant returned. The boots kicking the door in, the murder of her father and baby brother as she, her mother, and twin brother fled out the back door into the woods. It caramelized at 17 when she left home and transformed herself from Cora, the descendants of slaves, into Kara, an elite restaurateur and businesswoman. It boiled over when Stephen filed for divorce, citing her emotional distance and refusal to have children. Gabriel's voice, slow and soothing, pulled her from her memories. "It's remarkable, really, that you've accomplished this without formal training. Your talent is divine, Miss Sutton." "Thank you," she said, shifting her weight slightly. "But I've worked hard for everything I have. Talent only takes you so far." He leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful smile playing on his lips. "True. But there's something more here, isn't there? There's a depth to your cooking that can't be taught." Kara froze, unsettled by an unnamed tension. There was something about him, something she couldn't quite place. His tone was gentle, almost reverent, yet he seemed to see through her, as though he already knew her. "Excuse me," she said abruptly, rising from her chair. "I should check on the kitchen." Gabriel stood as well, bowing his head slightly. "Of course. Thank you for your time, Miss Sutton. Your restaurant is a gift to the city." He paused. "You are a gift." She murmured her thanks and retreated, leaving him standing at the table. She returned to the restroom, leaning against the sink, pressed a hand to her chest, willing herself calm. Breathe, breathe. She couldn't afford to let memories resurface. Not now, not ever. An hour later, she was seated in her office, managing the day's receipts, when there was a light knock at the door. Before she could answer, she looked up to find Gabriel standing at her desk. "May I help you, Mr. Abden?" "I have a 10 p.m. flight home," he said. "My review will be complimentary. I cannot deny that. However, I believe your story would enhance the piece." He handed her a business card, "If you would care to discuss." "Again, thank you for your hospitality." Kara reached for the card, her eyes catching the faint shimmer of the embossed lettering. Gabriel Abden, Observer of Grace. She felt a chill as she traced the words with her thumb. "Have a safe trip, Mr. Abden." She looked up, but he was already gone.
Wow. That was quite a confrontation, wasn't it?
It was. It was. And just a little spoiler alert, he's actually an angel.
Well, yes,
Well,
because we got that from his name.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And the
I am
the glow that she noticed.
and the grace.
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the
Yes.
grace. Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that when you start looking for, when you start becoming aware that something is not right, God will start putting things around you, but you have to notice it.
Yeah. Marjorie Deering said, wonderful reading and writing. I felt like the proverbial fly in the wall, taking all of it in. Yeah. And didn't it make you hungry too, Marjorie? I mean, the food sounded really good.
Yeah, it did.
Joe Conjal said, great reading. Joyce Shelton Rock.
Thank you.
Joyce Shelton York said, amazing reading. Yeah,
Thank
that was
you.
a very good read. I love it that he's an angel, but yes,
Yeah, that's cool.
considering his name, both his names, his first and his
Both
last
of them.
name, both angels.
Well, we need to take our last break. And when we come back, we'll tell everybody where to reach you and also what else you got going on in the future, hopefully. All right. So sit tight, everybody. Don't go away.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
Have you wanted to publish your story? Have you thought about self-publishing? Today is your day. 5-star Amazon review. Self-publish your ebook on Amazon for free in 2024. This ebook is available on Amazon. By Becca L. Jones.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
And we're back.
We are.
Joe Conjal has a question. What kinds of marketing do you do for your books? What has been the most effective and the least?
I'm going to say the least is Facebook ads. And I'm saying that because I don't do that. The way the Facebook algorithm goes, I personally feel like that's just money down the toilet. The most has been in person. Sometimes I do vending events on the weekends. I do some speaking at libraries and at churches. And what I'm going to start doing in 2025 is like partnering with other writers. So those have been the most lucrative.
Yes. Well, we partner with other writers and we think it's the best.
Yeah. It's more fun too.
It is. Yeah. It's a lot more fun.
It is a lot of fun because it can be solitary, right? It can be so solitary.
Oh, yeah. that is very true. Okay, so here's Pamela's website. It's www.pamelawrites.org, and that's PAMELAWRITES. And you can find all of her social media on there, and also links to her podcast and how to watch it and listen to it. Do you have audio too, or is it just a podcast?
I have audio, yes, and video on YouTube. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you can either listen to it while you're going to work, or you can watch it on YouTube. Well, what's next for you? Do you know?
Well, okay, so I'm wrapping up this fiction series. I have already started the next 3-book series, which is actually nonfiction, which is teaching the inner healing that is required from dysfunctional families. And I'm basing that on the life of Joseph. So it's called From Scapegoat to Sacred, because the person who is scapegoated in the family is usually the one who sees, who knows, who's working towards change. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of times by themselves. And I'm using David as that pattern. I woke up on Mother's Day, this past Mother's Day, the whole outline, the whole story in my head. And so I started writing that, but I was still working on this one. So that's what's going to be coming up, possibly April. I'm thinking spring.
Okay. You're going to be busy from now until April.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I think it's getting late, so we probably should make our big announcement that in this past November, as you know, we're broadcast on WLF-EDB. The station manager told us that WLF-EDB would be off the air at the end of this year. So at that time, we decided to, we talked about whether we could do something else other than WLF-EDB, but in the end, we decided this will have to be our last podcast tonight because it's gotten to be a lot.
There's a lot of work, no doubt about it.
And also the expense would all fall on us, the whole thing.
Right.
And our sponsors have been great in helping us to defray the expenses, but with the added expense of having to do Spreaker ourselves and all that kind of thing, we decided that we would end it on a high note. Yeah. And it's been a wonderful time. We've had over 250 authors on the show. They've all been wonderful. We've made a lot of good friends. We feel honored and privileged to have the audience and the authors that we have had on. And it's been wonderful. Chris Chrisman says, live streaming weekly podcast show is hard. Yes.
Yeah. And it's not just the show that you all,
it's the marketing.
The marketing behind it, the scheduling guests, rescheduling guests, planning for when you're going to be out of town traveling, trying to have a show, trying to do pre-records enough to cover those weeks when you're not going to be there so you don't lose your following. And there's just so much to do. It's just gotten too heavy of a load. So
Joe Conchal said, I will miss you in the show. You have both done amazing work helping to promote indie authors. Thank you so much for all of your efforts and support. You are so welcome. And we will miss meeting with all of you every week too. It's become like a family, and we'll miss you a lot. But we will still be doing the Haunted Campfire. Are You Proud of Me? I remember the title of our other podcast.
This is the first time.
I know.
That's great.
I know. We'll still be doing that podcast at the end of every month, the last Thursday of every month. Joyce Shelton, Paul Hollis says, "Oh no, say it ain't so. Joe, you two have to be a tremendous bright light in our lives." Oh, thanks. So Joyce Shelton, New York said, "Thank you both for all the wonderful things you have done to support so many authors. I have learned so much and enjoyed you both." Well, we know we love you, Joy. You can still see Joy on our other podcast every month. Dave Murray said, "I came very late to the show, but I've loved it and will miss you both and the show." Same, Dave.
Yeah.
Marjorie Deering said, "Your decision is certainly understandable, but a sad development. One of those things, dang it, you are going to be so missed, Robin Joan." Well, you watch our other podcasts, so we'll still be seeing you, I know. Chris Chrisman says, "Yes, thank you, Robin Joan. My interviews with you are the highlight of my author life so far." Thank you.
That's sweet.
Oh, George Dismuke says, "Words, I don't have the words." Oh.
Well, we have made friends for life, that's for sure.
Yes. You all know I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and so now I'm going to cry. But I do think it's the right thing and it's the right move for us. We're going to show you where to get in touch with us.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
If you would do that.
As long as you aren't going to send us a bill. Just kidding. Okay. This is our main website for us, indiebooksource.com. And there's a whole thing on Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles on there. There's authors that we have been promoting over the years, showing their books.
And we'll still be promoting them.
Meet the Author podcast. All the audios are there and links to the videos and so on. There's a lot there. And our other one, which is probably going to phase out over the next year, is carternovels.com, and that's got our own series on it.
But it's too expensive to keep two websites going, so we'll probably only keep one going.
We're going to have to get rid of one. On Facebook, we have too many pages. Carter Novels, Indie Bookstores, Meet the Author podcast, The Reading Shop, Robin Joan Carter, and the O'Rourke series. Those are our...
This is part of the reason why we're so busy and why we have to say,
That's crazy. I don't think so.
I do.
Maybe. Okay, and on LinkedIn, we only have one, and that's RC and JP Carter. You can search us there and find us. Instagram, automatically, we never go there. That's all a bot that goes there and posts on Instagram, but you can go see what we got there at Carter Novels. And on Blue Sky, we just started on Blue Sky, and actually we're enjoying that. For me, it's mainly at Carter Novels, and for Joan, it's at Joan Carter 1976. And for YouTube, our YouTube channel, just put in at Meet the Author podcast, and you'll find us. You'll come right to it. Yeah. It's hard to find people on there, but that's the easiest way to do it.
But do at Meet the Author podcast, and you'll find it, and you'll be able to, if you haven't seen all of our wonderful authors, you can see them all there. We're going to keep that running and going, and Paul Rushworth Brown interviews will still produce that on there. And as we said, we're busy. We'll still produce that. Interviews from Down Under. We will also, what else will we have up there? Oh, yeah, every Saturday we're going to do Author Rewind for as long as we can.
Yeah, at least finish out everybody's that has had all the way through episode 186. So that'll take us probably until the middle of the year for that. But because I'm not sure, I think we're on like 145 or something like that.
Joe Conjal said, "Sad news, but a great show tonight to go out on." Yeah, we chose Pamela on purpose.
For that reason.
Thank you, Pamela. And of course, Robin Joan. Joy Shelton, New York said, "Enjoyed meeting you, Pamela." I knew you.
Nice meeting you,
Joy. Well. Chris Chrisman says, "Thank you, Pamela. Looking forward to reading your series."
Thank you.
Marjorie said, Rob will have to put in guest appearances on Campfire Tales. Yes, anybody, you know what?
Yeah,
Campfire Tales, anyone's open to come on that.
Sure.
And also, if you're missing us, you can watch us once a month on Thursday night.
There you go.
On
to Campfire Tales.
On to Campfire Tales, and we'll be putting that on probably our YouTube and also on Tampa Bay Spirits Facebook page. And Chris Chrisman said, I prefer producing the shows from behind the curtain, much easier.
Especially in Oz. Yeah.
Paul Hollis says, thank you for another wonderful, informative show. You've made me a better writer. Thank you, Rob, Joan, and Pamela.
Thank you guys.
Paul, you talk about making people better writers, Paul Hollis. He's an amazing writer, and he's helped us all. Yes. And Dave Murray said, yes, Pamela, you are a talented writer. And so are you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Dave has quite a story to tell himself in his book.
Yes.
Chris Chrisman says, Zardoz lives, Rob, thanks. And Joe Conjal said, do a Meet the Authors anniversary show next year on Haunted Campfire Podcast. Yeah, you know, no, I did not talk to Rob about this at all. And so this will surprise him as much as it's going to surprise you. But I think every once in a while we might do a YouTube podcast.
I might do something.
Yeah. So, you know, when somebody has really something they want to get out there, and
keep in touch with us on Facebook and everywhere else. Email us once in a while. That'd be great.
Please do keep in touch.
CarterNovels@AOL.com. Yes, we still have AOL.
Yeah, because we're old. That's another reason why we need to slow down. Chris Christmas says, once a year reunion show.
Right.
I'll be 78 March 17th, and it's like maybe I could retire from a few things before I turn 80.
There you go. All right.
Be nice. Well, if that's all.
I think it is. Everybody go to Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles on Amazon and order the whole series. And
there's another comment.
Buy all of Pamela's books and all of our books too. That'd be great.
Oh, the pain. I know. George got me with his remark. That's when I started.
And I just want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for what you've done for indie authors, and I'm so honored to have been your last guest, guys.
Thank you for being our last guest.
We were honored.
There's one, yes, we've been so honored and humbled by all our people. Joy Shelton, New York said, good night, all. Merry Christmas. Yes, next week is Christmas.
Yeah.
Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And may 2025 be a really blessed year.
Let's hope for it.
Let's hope for a good year.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess until next time.
There won't be a next time. That's all, folks.
Next time we meet.
Yes.
There you go. Night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DV. Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share.